Students of Reddit, what is your best story about the worst teacher you ever had? Story 1 was in 8th grade in middle school. I had just passed a test permitting me to skip up to a ninth grade level math class. This required me to move from 6th period math to 5th period math, thus switching from 5th period science to 6th period science. Went to tell my science teacher and she freaked out and yelled in my face. You can't do that because they didn't talk to me. Went straight to the counselor. He approved of the move and my dad had a nice talk with her. Story 2. Miss Witherspoon. When we had her for 7th grade English, she was quirky, a little overdramatic, but not too outrageous. In 8th grade, we watched her have a nervous breakdown. By the time we started 8th grade, we had 2 periods in a row. We didn't have a homeroom, but this was pretty much that. Her mood at the beginning of the year was incredibly tense, and as the year progressed, we started getting more combative against her. She had health problems, so you could write some of her behavior off, but not all of it. Midway through the first semester, things started going off the rails. As an introduction to a book about racism, she had us share every racist term we had ever heard and wrote it on the board, then added 10 more. We never read the book. One day she got tired of teaching and assigned quiet reading for the rest of the class, which was about an hour and a half. About a half hour into it, one person coughed and another laughed quietly. She then shouted, not very loudly because of her health problems, "Do you think you can fool me?" She never explained that. The final assignment she gave us was to read a dozen short stories, followed by a test on those stories. I actually read them all, felt great about the test, and was dumbfounded by the F I'd gotten. The progress report came soon after, and it too showed 2 Fs. I stole the books from these short stories, came in from the classroom and took them home to grade the test myself, citing sources and page numbers. On her final day, she wanted us to tell her all of the bad things we'd ever heard about her. She'd been around that school for a couple of decades and was never well liked, so there were a lot of stories. She wept as we told her, but encouraged us to continue. The next day, all of her personal belongings were gone from the classroom, and we never saw her again. There was a substitute for the rest of the year, and she quietly retired during the summer. By the time report cards came out, I had 2 A's in the class, and in regrading her final test myself, I found that I got 100%. I kept all the books I stole. Edit. It seems that everyone has a crazy teacher in their pasts. This one was in Northern California. Story 3. I went to a very small school from 1st grade through high school. Graduated with around 16. There were 350-ish kids in total, preschool to high school. In 8th grade, 13 years old, the administration decided to make a really bad decision and have everyone up through the 8th grade have 1 teacher per grade all day long. Our teacher was new to the school, so no one knew what to expect. We spent the entire first week of school doing trust exercises and icebreakers, taking learning style quizzes, and writing introspective essays. It was absolutely mind-numbing to be in the same room for 7 hours with the same 20 people doing nothing constructive whatsoever. After a week, we finally got down to business, and things didn't seem to be too terrible. There was also a new kid in our grade that year who had some sort of learning disorder, or something like that, I'm not sure, and was a bit of a compulsive exaggerator. He was absent from school that day, and the teachers started making fun of him. Naturally, when he got back to school the next day, we told him about it. His mom called the school, and he told us that the principal wanted us to sign a petition stating that we heard her making fun of him and to list out other instances of bad behavior. She had singled out a few other kids for other petty issues as well. We all agreed to it because we couldn't stand her. Well, it turned out that he lied to us, and everyone that signed the petition got in trouble. He left the school the next week. There were other weird things that she began doing, such as only allowing us to leave class to go to the bathroom twice per month. She also hated all the boys in our grade and frequently ranked their conduct extremely low on weekly progress reports. She also began to single me out for very silly things. I had always been an excellent student and a bit of a goody-goody, never talked in class, cheated, or talked back to the teachers, and she began marking me down on conduct for reading a book or drawing a picture when I was done with an assignment or test. I specifically recall one time I drew her a picture of a puppy at the bottom of my homework. She had just gotten a new one and brought pictures to show us, and she counted off points because of the drawing. I hadn't quite realized at the time that it was possible to disrespect authority, or that teachers and other adults in charge don't always do the right or best thing. She was very syrupy and sweet to my face, though her sarcasm was obvious. The biggest incidents happened toward the end of the year. At lunch one day, several of my friends were goofing off and tossed a couple of pieces of ice at each other. We didn't disturb any other tables, and no one of ours got angry about it. She saw and decided to punish us for it. A week of detention, an essay on our wrongdoings, and having to sit at a small table and not talk during lunch for an entire week. Over the top? Sure, but whatever. We were used to it. It got weird though. I took a book to lunch with me one day, and she confiscated it, saying, "This is silent lunch, not reading lunch." So the next day I took a sketchbook. That got confiscated as well. "This is silent lunch, not drawing lunch." At the end of that quarter, she rated my conduct 0 out of 5, which requires a parent/teacher conference, and is usually reserved for kids who get caught fooling around in the bathrooms, smoking, fighting, etc. My mom freaked out. Not at me. She knew the woman was a little off her rocker, and went in for the meeting with my teacher. She ended up yelling at the woman for singling me out, which was true. No one else involved in the ice incident had gotten below a 4 out of 5. The final straw from the administration came when she started telling kids in class about her sex life. She was a newlywed and would say things like, "Oh, I'm just so tired. I was up all night with my husband. We had such an amazing time." She was asked not to return the next year, and she got a job teaching special education at another school in the area, even after she made fun of a boy with learning disabilities. Those poor children. Story 4. A teacher in high school tried to tell the class that Achilles was a Trojan soldier. I was like, "No, he was Greek." Her, "No, he wasn't." Me, "Yes, he was. He fights Prince Hector." Her, "Oh yeah, right." She sent me to the office after class for making her look bad. I got detention for disrespecting her and arguing. The rest of the Iliad lesson after that was watching Troy, not even reading the story. Story 5. I did not know if she was the worst, but she did make me angry the most. I had a college professor who never once showed up to class on time. It was a MWF class, so only 50 minutes long. She would regularly show up 30 minutes late, then refuse to dismiss us until her 50 minutes were over. This class was right before lunchtime, so no one had another class to get to. But still, so after the first week of this nonsense, some student said something to her right after she arrived late as usual. The teacher got so furious and personally offended that she kicked the girl out of class and told her to drop the course because she wasn't going to teach someone so Disrespectful. What do you call showing up to your own class 30 minutes late every day? Because I would call that disrespectful. Edit. Understandably, a lot of you are asking why we didn't just leave after 10 to 15 minutes. To be honest, I don't remember exactly, but I know that this lady was a favorite among a lot of the students because of her personality. She had a fun teaching style when she actually showed up. She was also a cancer survivor and really old, so maybe we felt guilty about leaving. We were her first class of the day, so I'm guessing she just never left her house on time and didn't care enough to try. Regardless of the circumstances, I don't see her behavior as excusable, and I wish I had taken action against it when I had the chance. Tardiness really makes me angry. I'm a punctual person. Story 6. My chemistry teacher in high school was not nice at all. He would tell us if we didn't master chemistry, we should start picking up bridges to live under, and that you will never get another job outside of chemistry. He would call people out in front of the class who had failed an exam, making several girls cry. The icing on the cake was one day, a larger girl asked him if she could go across the campus to grab her notebook or something she left there. He said, "Yeah, sure. You could use the exercise." He went on personal leave for the entire year and never came back. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell button to receive notifications to my latest videos.